Hello and welcome to the 18th episode of Educhat with Dr. Sujit. And episode after episode, I am getting so many questions. You'll be surprised. There are more than 100 questions I received in last couple of weeks. And it becomes so difficult for us to select the top 3 questions for every episode of Educhat. Now, as I already told you, the only criteria is the answer that are going to benefit the maximum number of dentists are selected. So today also in this episode, I'm going to answer the top 3 questions of Educhat with Dr. Sujit. And I want you to ensure that you keep on asking questions. If your question is not yet selected, it might get selected because it might be useful to the larger audience who is following my YouTube channel and listening to every video. I hope you have already subscribed to the channel. Put like, share, comment. Make sure that it's your and my collective responsibility to ensure that this series benefits the maximum number of dentists who are practicing in their day-to-day practice, because that's the only and the sole purpose of me. Right? And I understand that as you keep on practicing on your daily basis, you keep on getting so many questions, and it is important that you learn the art and science of communication and patient management and practice management. So let's start the 18th episode. And today the voice of question behind the camera is Raksha. So she's going to ask me the questions. So Raksha, what's the first question?
So Dr. Sampada has asked, how to do financial management between practice growth and savings?
Well, balancing finances between growing the practice on one side and saving, investing, and growing on the other side. How to make that happen? I understand a very tricky situation, especially in the initial years of practice. Now, there are 2 aspects I want to answer this question with. Number 1 is financial management. Let me tell you a bad news here. Okay? Across the world, doctors are considered as few of the worst financial managers. Why? Simply because financial management is never taught to us. Never. I'm sure that whether in your schools or college, you never learn financial management because our entire focus was on sharpening our clinical skills. Our entire focus was on growing the practice, becoming better at what you are doing. On one side, you work extremely hard to make that money. And on the other side, you just don't know how to save, invest, and grow that money in your life. So financial management is a completely different science. And those of you who have done any of my courses, you know how powerful course I have on financial management. Now, coming back to the aspect about the balancing the finances between the practice growth and your savings and investments. In the initial years of practice, because you want to set up your practice, you want to have funds for marketing, you want to upgrade your practices by having different instruments, equipment, and also by doing different courses to enhance and sharpen your clinical skills, it becomes very difficult because on one side, the income is limited because the practice is new. On other side, the expenses, the overheads are fixed, and these variable expenses are on the higher side. So what should be the right thing to do? If you are into initial years of your practice, my very frank suggestion is forget about savings and investments. Put every single penny you save in upgrading your practice by means of all 3M. And what are the 3Ms of practice? I always say, dentistry is all about marketing, management, and professional mastery. So it's not just about clinical skills. You need to put money for marketing, you need to invest in management skills, soft skills, and you need to invest in clinical skills. It's always said, at the start of your career, it's more important to learn than to earn. So whatever money you save, make sure that you put the entire money into growing your practice. If you are at a stage of practice where you make reasonable amount of money, good savings, the next thing is put at least 10% of your net profit every year into upgradation of your practice. Rest after expenses and everything, at least 10% should be always going in the upgradation of your practice by means of all 3Ms. And remaining, whatever surplus is left, that can go to savings and investments so that you grow your money. So I hope you got your answer, Sampada, because I don't know at which stage of practice you are. You didn't mention that. But then, if you're a beginner, you have a different game plan or roadmap. And if you are an established practitioner where finances is not a big constant, still ensure that 10% at least of your net profit should go for upgradation. Right? So, Raksha, what's the next question?
So Dr. Anita has asked how to get Google reviews from patients without them thinking it's purely marketing.
Okay, getting Google reviews from patients and that to thinking that it's not marketing. Very, very tough and a very, very good question. So I'll tell you what, Google reviews, getting the reviews in medical field itself is more challenging than getting the reviews maybe in a business like a restaurant. Okay, people on their own give reviews to the restaurants and when they go to on vacation and malls and different places. But then giving reviews for a medical field person, doctors, it's very difficult. They are not very encouraged to do that. The reason is very simple. The reason is they come here with some sort of pain. Okay, especially in dental practice, they come with a lot of pain, and dental pain is one of the severe most pain in human body. So when they get the pain relief and we charge our professional fees in return, so they think that it's a typical give and take kind of transactional relationship and they will never get encouraged to give you reviews. I'm sure you have seen this hundreds of times that you have asked very good reviews to few of your very, very satisfied patients. But then what? They said, I'll go back home and I'll give you a very good review. I'll write it very, calmly, quietly and properly. And they never did that. It is only because they are never encouraged to give reviews from within. Because it is the relief of the pain or it is the getting cure of the disease rather than having that happy, fun, exciting adrenaline kind of experience which they have otherwise. So it's always very difficult to get reviews. Now, the only thing you can do is keep asking. Okay. And the second part of your question was how to ask without them feeling that it's for marketing. So you always say that probably you came to our practice by reading few reviews online, whether on Google or any other online platform. So it is some patient who wrote a review about our practice, helped you to find the right dentist. Right? So your review will actually help someone who is looking for a good dentist to find the right dentist. Trust me, this is the best thing you can do. Everything else is always left to the patient. So this has worked extremely powerfully for us in our practice, and I'm sure it will work for you as well. Because Google reviews are important. You cannot have a very good online presence, your strong SEO, unless you have a lot of reviews on your Google page. Okay, so keep on asking, keep on requesting. With all honesty, you request, you ask, you beg, you do whatever you want, but just do your best and then forget the rest. So that's the policy to get more and more reviews for you. So Raksha, what's the third question?
So third question by Dr. Neeraj Panchal. Should we tell the patient if a file breaks in the canal?
Well, Dr. Neeraj, very interesting question. Shall you tell patient if the file separates in the canal? And let me tell you, it is so difficult to answer this question in a YouTube video because a non-dentist might land up watching this. Okay? I've been asked these questions hundreds of times in my live courses. Okay? Answering that question there is simple, but in a YouTube video. But still, I have chosen this question. You know why? Because you have to be courageous sometimes in order to be honest as well as transparent, right? So, first thing, what is important is, as a practicing dentist, you should know that it is okay to separate the file sometimes by mistake in the canal. I heard it somewhere by one of the very famous endodontists in our country that there are only two instances when you don't separate the file in the canal. Number one, either you are not doing root canals or you are a liar. Okay, so the first thing is, it is not rare. It happens. It can happen. And I'm sure it is absolutely mistake or unintentional for every dentist. The most important thing you need to do or to ensure is do not show the panic or the guilt on your face. Okay? Separating an instrument is not as big problem as if you show the panic or guilt on your face. The problem is patient think that something grossly has gone wrong with my tooth. And that message, that feeling makes patient panic. So it's okay to separate the file. And if you listen to the endodontist, and they will always tell you that there are two ways of handling this particular situation. Number one, if you know and if you have the expertise in retrieving the file, do it. And if not, still ensure that you do the irrigation, the sterilization of the canal, cleaning and shaping up the canals properly. The file can stay there for years without giving any problem, any failure to the root canals. So separating file is not a problem. The problem is management. Now coming to the actual question, whether you should tell this to the patient or not. Now, I've heard a lot of speakers saying that you must tell this to the patient. And they are clinically right. Okay? But I'll tell you from the management perspective, you should not tell this to the patient. Because the moment you tell this to the patient, it's, something happens in their mind that something has gone wrong with my tooth. And even if there's no problem, the tooth starts paining. I'll tell you this. Okay? Think about this. We just had the COVID pandemic. Okay? And the moment you came to know that somebody you met a couple of days ago is now a COVID positive, what happens to you after that? You start feeling feverish all of a sudden. Isn't it? Remember this thing. What you do not know does not exist for you. This is extremely powerful. I repeat again. What you do not know does not exist for you. So if the separated instrument, patient do not know about it, it doesn't exist for the patient. And the patient is right. I'm sure many of you might have already got exposed to the COVID, or someone who got COVID after a couple of days, you never knew about it, you never had any symptoms. That's a human psychology. So I'm telling you purely from the psychology and the management part. Few of you might differ with my opinion, but I teach management to the world, right? And this is my opinion. And trust me, Neeraj, I find this as the best question of this episode. Okay? Because this is such a tricky situation which every dentist face multiple times in their practice. And I'm sure if you are watching this video, this question benefited you very well. Remember, management is the essence of life. It's not the problem that happens to you that creates or shapes your future afterwards. It is how you react or respond to it that makes the entire difference. What you do not know does not exist for you. So Neeraj, your question is the best question of the episode. And as you all already know, that the one who asks the best question gets the copy of my international bestseller book, New Age Dentalpreneur, absolutely free. So Neeraj, just shoot an email to connect@sujitpartnership.com, send your shipping address, and we'll be glad to send you the personally autographed copy of my international bestseller book, New Age Dentalpreneur. So with this, we come to the end of the 18th episode of Educhat with Dr. Sujit. I'm sure this was useful. Put your comment in the comment box. How did you find this episode? Share this with your friends and colleagues to whom you think will be benefited from this question answer series. And I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.